Well, hey guys, thanks for cooking with me today. My name is James K. Jones and this is my basement. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make my bacon jam. It is tip of the sword. It is one of the most talked about recipes that I've ever created. The bacon jam is a recipe that I stumbled upon, had it, didn't really like the way it tasted, but I thought this is an idea. This could be next level stuff. So I perfected a recipe, and since then people have went wild for James K. Jones's bacon jam. And for years my wife, she wouldn't even try it. She would say, "What is bacon jam? That sounds gross." And it took somebody else making a big deal out of it to get her to even try it. And when she did, she became a fan, just like you will. You may be asking now yourself, like, hey, what is bacon jam? It is delicious goodness. I originally created it to put on a burger, and since then I've found thousands of ways to use it, and it's really a staple in my refrigerator. But it's one of those recipes that once you taste it, it changes your life. So let's get to cooking, see what happens. All right, guys, we're going to get our ingredients together. We got a pound of smoked bacon, 2 sweet white onions, a cup of red wine vinegar, about a half a cup of your favorite white wine. We got 2 cups of light brown sugar, 2 sticks of butter, a cup of just regular white sugar, and about a splash of heavy cream. And I'll show you what we're going to do with all that in just a sec. Next, we're going to put our spices together. We got some pink Himalayan sea salt, some ground white pepper, a little bit of cayenne pepper, and about 1 clove of garlic that I've minced up. All right, next we're going to get our hardware together so we can get to making our delicious goodness. You're going to need a heavy bottom pot. I like to use the enamel cast iron, but you can use whatever you like. You're going to need just a bowl that's safe to hold bacon grease, a strainer, a very sharp chef knife, and I like to use a wooden spoon, but if you don't have that, just use a spoon that can handle high heat. Now, I've heard different people from different camps talk about bacon, applewood, bacon wood, peach wood. I prefer to stick with just some regular bacon. I've tried all the others. Sometimes you can kind of tell a difference, but I've not been able to tell a difference from just a regular old bacon that me mama bought. That's how I do it. All right, so first thing we're going to do is prep our onions. These are just sweet onions. You can get Vidalia onions. You can also use yellow or white if you want to, but these actually work the best for this recipe. All right, so first thing we're going to do is chop our onions. Just you don't have to do anything fancy with this. Just going to knock the skin off. Make sure we don't save any skins. That's the worst taste. You get an onion skin in your mouth. If you've ever had one, you'll know it. Just knock that off quick. Just going to do a quick dice on those bad boys. I generally cut them in half and then half again. And then just use the edge of my knife to get this doesn't have to be a perfect dice because we're going to cook these. So you're not going to see a whole lot. Alright, next we're going to get out our bacon. I don't know if you notice, I used wood cutting boards a lot, but when you're cutting raw meat, you don't want to use wood. You want to use sanitary cutting board because it can help you get sick, and nobody wants that. We're just going to give that a rough slice right across the front of it. Just going to stir that around, get it tore up a little bit. Try to get it as even as you can, like in the layers. It's going to help it to cook faster and more uniform. Alright, so then as that continues to cook, I've been timing it. It's been cooking for about 4 minutes. We're probably about halfway through right here. And what we're going to do here is to get the fat to start rendering down a little bit off the bacon. We just want to keep cooking that slowly. You want to get all the fat to render off of it. So you don't want to see any fat on it, just bacon. All right, we're going to continue to let that cook. I cut the heat down just a little bit to keep it from burning. So you see at some point it starts to foam up like this. This means that the fat's rising up and it helps it cook a little bit. And that means that you are almost where you need to be. This is where it starts to get fun. It smells amazing. Just that bacon cooking in there. I mean, who doesn't love bacon? What's not to love? Alright, now we're about where we need to be. If you can see, the fat is rendered off. All that's left is the meat. And that's going to be where you want to get for this recipe. You don't want like fat on the bacon. Even if you like fat, it's going to not work out. Just trust me. Trust me on that one. Alright, so next up, we're just going to take our bowl. We're going to put our strainer inside of that bowl. And then we're going to take the bacon and the grease. And we're just going to dump it right into the strainer. Be careful though, because it's hot. Don't worry about getting all of it. You can leave a little bit because you're going to want some bits in there to help your onions get going. We're going to add our 2 sticks of butter. Just let that melt. We'll let that get good and melted all the way. And then to that, we're going to add our onions. About ready to go in with our onions. We're going to dump those in there. And this is, again, this is one of those things that takes time. You got to stick with this. So I'm just going to get these started, and I'm keeping up with the timer. The onions take longer than anything. But we're going to let those cook down until they get almost completely translucent. I usually get it up, get it going, then I turn the heat down just a little bit. It takes them a bit to cook. Alright, so this has been cooking for about 8 minutes. As you can see, it takes a minute. You got to keep just stirring it, turn the heat down just a little bit, and just continue letting them cook in that butter. And they will become a little more translucent, and that'll get us ready for our base. Alright, so now our onions have been cooking. I just timed it. It was 22 minutes. You'll see they start to get a little translucent, and they're about ready to add the rest. Get all the goodness in there. That's going to be the good stuff. So you're going to mix that up, and then we're going to deglaze this pan with some white wine. It's going to take all that stuff off the bottom. Slowly, because it's going to pop. And what this does, this deglazes the pan. It gets all the bacon, the onions, and stuff that's been cooking, and just takes all that and pulls it into a base full of just all the good stuff. I'm going to add our red wine vinegar. Give it a little stir. We're going to add in our seasonings. We're going to add in just a little salt, a little sea salt, a little white pepper, a little bit of cayenne. Not too much cayenne. You just want to do enough just to get a little taste on the back. And then we've got the clove of about a garlic that I minced up. We'll put that in there. Give that a nice stir. Already smelling amazing. Now we're going to add in the part that actually makes it turn into jelly or jam. We're going to put in our sugar. It's about a cup. We're going to add in our brown sugar. Now if you're on the keto diet or you're trying to do something different, I tried to do this with a different recipe to come up with a keto version of bacon jam, but it just doesn't work out. Alright, so I'm going to let that get up to speed. As soon as that comes back to a light boil, I'm going to reduce the heat, and we're going to cook that probably for about another 15-20 minutes till it all comes together. But to finish this off, I'm going to add in about a splash of heavy cream. Now I had a friend of mine recently that watched the MacNCheese video, and she said, "What is a splash?" So to me a splash is a splash, but if you don't know, I guess a splash would be about a teaspoon. Well, alright guys, I've let this cook down for about 15 or 20 minutes on a low heat. And to finish it off, I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can also add paprika to this. It gives it more of a red color. I forgot to add the paprika one time, and I found out it didn't do anything for the flavor, so I stopped using it. But if you wanted it to be a little more bright, look a little more reddish, you can add a little paprika, and it helps it turn into like a neat red brick color. Alright guys, we've let that cool off, and now it's time to do a little verdict. I've actually put that in the refrigerator for about an hour and a half. Let's see what happens. Oh my. Alright, can you see how it kind of gels up? Starts turning into actually like a jelly or a jam. After the sugar, all the stuff comes together and it starts getting cold. This is the good stuff. Now we need to put it to a taste test. Time for a verdict. Y'all don't even know how good that is. You can use it on a burger. You can put it in macaroni and cheese. You can put it on a sandwich. You can use it just as a, just like a dip or something for a charcuterie board, which I don't really say charcuterie board because I can't spell it. But, you know, like if you make a grazing board or one of those things people are doing these days, it is a great addition to anything that you're cooking. And it is filled with delicious goodness, and I can't wait for you to try it. For more, look me up on Facebook and Instagram, or check out our podcast, the Straight Outta Prison Podcast, just about anywhere you enjoy listening to podcasts. You can also connect to everything we're doing at teamjones.com. Also, I'm working on a new series called The Basics, where I'm just going through showing you all the little tricks and hacks to get ready to learn how to cook. And that is a suggestion coming from one of our first subscribers. Do me a favor, like and subscribe the page. Please share it with your friends. It helps us get going. And thank you so much for cooking with me today. We'll see you soon.